Okay, so I told you about the crab fishing today. What are you gonna do now?
As I said, that's not
Why is she acting like she has to go out and save all men from jobs that are dangerous?
job. There are people
Okay,
who
so
are
you're
on.
doing the same
Excuse me,
thing.
if I
Right,
could
okay,
please
go
speak.
ahead, go ahead.
As I've said before, there are people on safety committees. There are people
Yeah.
on workers' unions.
Yeah.
There are people whose jobs are dedicated
To
to
making
worker
sure-
safety.
safety,
So
yeah.
if you're very passionate about that, you should probably invite one of them to sit down in
Ooh,
the studio.
that's a good
and ask
argument.
them that question.
Okay, so nothing.
Oh my God. Bro, that just shows you that Pearl you cannot talk to somebody like her. Like, no, you can't talk to her. I ain't gonna make it about other people.
You know what I'm saying? Drop a like, leave a comment, let me know you're in here. We finna have fun tonight.
Pearl, let's hear what you have to say.
If men's jobs disappeared tomorrow, society would crumble.
snap.
If women's jobs disappeared tomorrow, society would be fine.
Oh, really? Who's going to raise all the children?
And then she smirks like she just cooked.
Do you think society discriminates more against men or women, or do you think it's equal?
I
It don't
think
fucking
that they
matter.
discriminate more against women, but I don't. That's not to say that men aren't discriminated against in some aspects.
Okay, how are women more discriminated against?
As I've said before, in my own personal experience and statistically,
Other than, can we do something other than just people say mean words to me? Because
Saying mean things isn't even discrimination. And why would you just cut her off and say that? And she didn't even start to allude to it. Did I miss something? Did she allude to people saying mean things?
as I've said before, in my own personal experience and statistically,
other than, can we
She
do
didn't even
something
allude to anything. She just started talking. Saying mean things isn't even discrimination necessarily. And shut up.
other than just people say mean words to me? Because men, by the time they're 22, somebody said a mean word to them. Usually it's a woman.
Oh
So
my
anything
God.
Other than somebody
We get
said
bullied by
something I
friends
don't like.
before women.
abortion bans. Can you name a law that controls what men can do and access healthcare and the healthcare that men can access?
Mhm.
Is there any laws that control men's healthcare access?
Well,
Nope.
if you want to talk about men's body, men are
No.
required to go into selective service. So
No, she didn't say you want to talk about men's body. She said men's access to health care. Try
if there
again.
is a wartime, they are required to be drafted.
Yeah, and I think that the draft should be abolished.
So you asked for a law. There's
Mm.
a law. There's a way that women's bodies aren't protected. There's a way men's bodies aren't protected.
No, so it's actually my
And how prevalent is fucking drafts? This drafts is just not gonna happen, bro.
question was different. My question was, can you name a law that restricts men's access to healthcare?
That's what
that
she said.
restricts men's access to healthcare.
Nope.
No, not off the top of my head.
So there you go. That's one discriminatory
How are women
practice.
restricted access to healthcare? You can drive to another state and get an abortion.
Bro, she doesn't. Excuse me, I'm sorry. She doesn't even attempt to pretend like somebody said something worth considering. It's like, no matter what you say, no matter how much sense it make, I'm gonna argue with you. Because why should anybody be forced to drive hours away? Say you live 5 minutes from the closest hospital. I have to drive to another state to get health care? Then what's the point of having hospitals in a certain mile radius? What's the point? If I want something done, let's just drive to the next state over because my state don't allow it. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, well, then that's also not taking into account like socioeconomic factors, right? Because not every person has the ability or the funds or the time to
That
be able
too.
to just cross state lines to gain access. We shouldn't have different healthcare access in
Okay.
different states. Your geographical location
Okay.
should not determine your access to a human right.
Okay. Well,
Right.
again,
Okay.
luckily for women, we have access to birth control.
Yeah, just fuck everything she said that just made all that sense. Just fuck it all. Yeah, you got birth control, so you shouldn't have got pregnant in the first place. Don't she know that, like, most people, I believe half of abortions are from failed contraception, if not more. So people be using this shit, and sometimes it don't work. So what now? They did what they were supposed to do. They tried to prevent it, and something happened that they didn't plan for. What do you mean contraceptive? No contraceptive is 100%. None. Not any of them.
Abstinence. And you can even track your cycle and not get pregnant. So I think there's
Sure, yeah. Nobody's ever gotten pregnant off of their cycle.
plenty of options beforehand that it really isn't an excuse if you have an unplanned pregnancy.
So actually about
Like, I just find it so amusing how Pearl has no experience. I don't know if she's had experience with maybe an unwanted pregnancy. I don't know that information. But if we're going off of the way she presents herself, she shouldn't have had that experience. So even outside of that, like the way she feels about marriage, divorce, raising kids, gender roles, all this stuff that she has literally no experience in, but has the most to say about it. And it's just everybody left and right besides Myron and them tell her she's wrong because you don't know what this shit is like when you're really in these situations. Yet she has the strongest opinions on all of it. Stop. You can literally be married and not want to have a kid. And you can use contraception and it can fail you. Married people aren't forced to have kids just because they're married too.
50% of unplanned pregnancies used protection.
See?
And so that's just
Well,
an
then you should.
incorrect
I knew I wasn't
learn
tripping.
To use it better.
That's
And
not
the
how
other.
that action, and so that's just
Well,
an
then you
incorrect
should.
statement.
Then you should learn to use it better.
Use it better. Oh my, like this isn't reality. Like people can take all of the right steps and shit just don't go right for whatever reason. People take precautions with things all the fucking time and shit can still happen. Nothing is guaranteed. So for her to just act like you should use it. What the fuck is using it better if you have a IUD? What's using it better if you get the shot or whatever? Whatever the one that goes in your arm. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things you can do what you're supposed to do, and that doesn't mean it's gonna be fucking 100% every time. Raggedy Amish is crazy.
That's
And
not
the
how
other
that
the other thing is after the kid's born, you could argue that it's an equally irresponsible move when men and women have unprotected sex with some problem.
You know, she supposedly has a boyfriend now. She's been parading on X. So I don't know. Again, like Myron, I think she's paying for him because both of these people seem to have gotten in relationships when the pressure was just getting too much of ignoring the fact that you're just not in a relationship. And it's like you talk all this shit, but you're single as fuck. I think it's kind of convenient that she had a boyfriend when people kept getting on her about being single.
Problem with the birth control. Fine. Irresponsible.
You are
But
crazy.
after the woman has more control. She has the right to get. She's the only.
She
one
has
who
the right
gets
to get an
decide if
abortion.
She takes a Plan B. She's the only one that gets to decide to put him on child support.
And
or
she can decide to get a fucking abortion too. Don't leave that option out, dumbass.
alimony if they're married. Men don't have a right to their wallets after the kid is born.
Shut the fuck up. Oh my God. A woman is more than likely going to have to deal with the kid on a regular basis. They're going to have to carry the child. They're going to have to more often than not do the extracurriculars, the cleaning, all that shit. The kid is more than likely going to stay with the mother. Yes, he should pay child support. If they share custody, I don't know. If it's like 50-50, then maybe not. If the kid is with the dad, she should pay child support. Why is they don't have control over their wallets? Then you had the kid with her. You should want to be responsible. Like this framing is like a man should be able to have a kid, and then when she has it, if they're not together, he doesn't bear any responsibility after that. What the fuck is this premise? If he wanted a kid, I ain't gonna say he wanted, but if he had a kid, whether they're together or not, he's responsible. He's responsible. He bears a level of responsibility. He shouldn't be able to just not have to do anything if he's not with the child at least half of the time. What the fuck is wrong with her?
Yeah.
The woman don't have control over her wallet either because the kid's going to be getting into it.
So pregnancy involves your body and your
It's
internal
beyond
organs,
weird.
and
She just
that
can't
is
be
worth
serious.
more than any money.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's 9 months, a year. What about the rest of the time? What about 18 years after?
Right. And so then there's like
What-
2 years
so-
after that you're breastfeeding. And
Yeah, 18 years. That's you're taking care of the kid for 18 years. Why? What you mean the 9 months?
And then there's the unequal division of childcare and
Yeah.
domestic labor. So it's so much more than 9 months. But to go back, we cannot minimize that 9 months. Having your body be not your own for 9 months is 9 months too long.
Yeah, but there are men dying when they go and do their jobs.
Oh my God. like, what is this dichotomy that everything has to be tit for tat? A woman go, well, there are men dying at their jobs. Men aren't dropping like flies at their jobs. Are their jobs this dangerous? Yes. But this isn't just this occurrence that men are dying every day at jobs. Otherwise, nobody will work them. There are some jobs that are absolutely dangerous. But you're like, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw something that says like, no. I don't want to say that. It was wrong. But regardless, like every man doesn't work those jobs. Like the jobs that you're talking about that are very dangerous, like linemen and shit. That's not. Most men aren't doing that. Most of us have comfortable jobs that are very low chance of dying or being hurt. So miss me with all that shit. And that's irrelevant. Women still have to carry a kid and they can die during childbirth. Is it a high chance? No. But it's also not a high chance men are fucking dying at work either.
Get a
Not
different job.
complaining about it.
They can get a different job.
No, because men understand that somebody has to do it.
Yeah, they don't have to do it.
They understand. Well, that's why it's
And women
admirable.
understand that somebody has to have kids and they're the ones that have to bear that. And they do it. And it's dangerous. Having a kid isn't just this walk in the park.
that they do it anyway and they don't complain. And
Oh
that's
my
what I keep going back to is
Women aren't complaining either. You're just pretending that there's this issue that you're making everything about men versus women. If women had to have kids, men can die at work. Like, stop.
feminists tend to want is they want all of the credit and they want to over exaggerate their problems.
No.
So I would actually like to go back to the comparison you made of pregnancy and men going to work. Do you think those two things are the same?
I think that a man going to a dangerous job is far worse than a woman being pregnant.
And do you think that the majority
I don't know how to compare the numbers of those two, but I would think that if a job is that damn risky, nobody will work it. If it's like a 50-50 chance you may not come home, like I don't think a lot of people will work that job, even men. And it's not a 50-50 that women will die during childbirth. But childbirth in itself is a lot on your body. It takes a toll on your body. So it's just like, you know, I don't know how I would feel if I had to carry a child and I don't even know what I'm going to look like after that. You know what I'm saying? Some people may be in love with the body that they have and you have a kid and they could destroy it and it may not get back to where it was. You know, it's just a lot of shit.
of
Far
men
far
work-
more dangerous, I'll say. That's more accurate. Better and good is like it's subjective, right?
Yeah, and as I've said before, I think that we should have better
Oh, yeah, you
safety
peep it.
protocols. We should improve the safety of all workers, so I think that should be addressed. But also, the majority of men...
but it isn't, right? Like, 'cause
Right,
when
but are you
when we
arguing
go,
for it to be?
here's the difference. Okay, so feminists have a tendency to think that if we complain, things will just happen. And I'm more realistic, where I know that just
You complain for men.
because we say, oh, it should be better, well, it's not.
So
And men understand that because they have had to deal with that reality from a young age.
you recognize that the only reason you have a microphone and you have a show is because feminists complained because we wanted a voice.
That's
Because
not true.
It actually is.
It's not
being-
true. There's
having-
writers, there's
It
female
is true.
writers in the 1800s, 1700s.
And they had to write
and
under
1600s.
men.
Right, yeah, she finna say it. Like a lot of female writers had to write under male names to get their work read or out. Like that was a thing.
Male pseudonyms.
It's not
Pseudonyms,
true.
that's
It
the
is
word.
true.
Yeah.
Not
It-
true.
She talking about it's not true. You just, bro, don't say it's not true because you don't. Look at it. You don't know. You don't know. It's not true, Pearl. It is true. You just don't know about it. Don't sit there and say it's not true. It is true.
It's not true, but it's history.
not
and
true. It
it's
is.
statistics. It is.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
There were
What
women
the
in
fuck?
power. We had Cleopatra. We had women in power throughout all of history.
Oh my God. We had Cleopatra. First of all, she's not even American. Let's get that out the way. And second, one person that's royalty, you're going to count royalty against normal everyday women? Normal women couldn't vote. Normal women couldn't have a bank account. Normal women couldn't write books and have them be published. This wasn't that long ago. And you're talking about Cleopatra, royalty.
There are examples of them.
When were
The
women
first female property owner was in the 1600s in the United States.
when were women allowed to have their own bank accounts?
Women were allowed to have their own bank accounts in 19. What does that have to do with writing? You're changing the topic.
No.
First of all, she didn't want to answer because she knew that it wasn't gonna go in her favor. She knew it was not going to. Yeah, and men played women in stage plays and stuff because they couldn't do nothing. You're right. I forgot about that one. But she don't want to answer that question because she know it wasn't good. What does this have to do with writing? It's not about writing. It's about what women had access to, Pearl. So don't act like the topic changed. Turn the notifications on, Try, man. It come in the chat and you got to turn notification on.
I'm not.
You're changing the topic because I'm
No,
right.
she's
They were
not.
allowed to write. They were.
It's not about Pearl. You just gonna talk about women in writing the whole time? If I'm not mistaken, I feel like Pearl brought it up first, but I could be wrong. But it's not about writing. It's about what women could do.
Who brought up female writers?
But okay,
That wasn't the
go
question.
ahead.
Wait,
So,
she did bring it up,
right.
Pearl.
They were.
You're the one who brought up female writers.
But
Yes,
okay,
I
okay,
thought so.
go ahead,
Pearl
go
brought
ahead.
that up.
Sometime in the 1900s. I can't remember.
No, not the 1900s.
Yeah, it was like in the
general.
1970s.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
When women were allowed to have bank accounts. So when we're talking
And
about women,
what's happened since we got bank accounts?
What
We
has
own
happened? You
we
tell
own
me.
80% of the world's debt. There's a reason.
Excuse me. First of all, the world's first. Oh my God! And if I'm not mistaken, I feel like she's talking about college debt. They probably have the most college debt because women are going to school now more. That's probably what she's talking about. And even still, you're saying that as if just having debt in itself is just this moral wrong that nobody should have. Like, get the fuck
People
on.
did things the way they did.
you don't think that women should be able to have their own bank accounts?
I don't think they shouldn't have bank accounts. I think everyone should have the right, and they do. But there's a reason. I think when we look at the past, we have to look at the reason that people did things. And one of the reasons is women are very irresponsible with money.
You just made that up. Nobody said women can't have bank accounts because they're irresponsible. How would you know if they never had the option to have a bank account? You just fucking want to shit on women, and then you sit there and look like you just cooked some shit, and all you did was grab some salt, you fucking idiot. Like, this is, oh my God. Like, just, oh my God. Because women are irresponsible. What the fuck?
Things. And one of the reasons
not
is
why.
women are very irresponsible with money. They own 80% of the world's debt, even though they make less.
And she's just saying it like having debt equals irresponsible with money. That's not how that works.
Money than men.
So did you know that the majority of household finances are regulated and controlled by women?
And
I knew that. We make 80% of consumer buying decisions.
and why do you think that is? Dumb. Oh my God. She don't. It's like she hears information and doesn't assess it to any degree. Again, speaking on shit that she has no idea about. Women control a lot of the money because we don't give a fuck about that shit for the most part. Men don't be trying to buy the new forks. We don't buy the curtains. We don't buy the furniture. Yeah, we care about the fucking TV and our consoles and our technology and shit. Women do all the other shit. So yes, they do make a lot of the purchasing choices. But it's usually with a man that's overseeing it. And I ain't gonna say usually, but a lot of those cases.
Yeah.
So that's what I said.
No
they
fire
spend.
and no seasoning.
Buying decisions.
Yeah.
So that's what I said. They spend.
So,
That's what I
So?
said, they
Right,
spend
because-
money.
because
so
They spend money.
wait. First of all, are we supposed to not spend money? How the fuck are we supposed to keep the economy going if we're not spending money? If people are spending money, that means they have money to spend. Numbnuts.
They don't have.
We do have
Who
some
don't
money.
have it?
Hey,
You
spend
can't just say women spend money and then they have most of the debt. If that's not the same person, what the fuck are you talking about? And if you have debt and you're managing it well, what's the problem? What the fuck are we talking about?
Because
They spend money
households-
they don't have.
Says
we do have
who?
the money.
Not anymore. I mean, the average
Not
woman
anymore.
out of college has $30,000
Out of
worth
college, out of college. Why did you pick such a small group of people? Unless you mean everybody out of college, which I wouldn't even believe the stat that you're going to put. But if you mean freshly out of college, of course they're not going to have that much money.
What debt do you have? You have to have 6 figures coming out of
I do
med
have
school.
6 figures
Yeah,
of debt, and
exactly.
the student
And
debt. Yeah, because
And
if
the
you,
thing is, in your profession,
it's gonna pay
on
off.
average, women leave the medical profession when they have a kid or
Mhm.
within 5 years. So odds are you won't pay it off. And I'm not saying you personally, I hope you do, right? I'm not wishing it one way or another, but statistically, women make their debt someone else's problem.
men do the same thing.
No, they don't. So
this-
they looked at women paying off their debt and men paying off their college debt, and men have been making payments towards it the last 5 years and women haven't.
So it's funny because you just
go ahead.
mentioned how
ahead.
women will leave their careers because they have to take care of children. And that probably plays a large role into why they're not able to pay back their student debt compared to men who continue to be a part
Yeah.
of the workforce
Yeah.
even after they have children.
Yeah.
Do you see?
And she doesn't care about any of that, because whatever a woman does, whatever choice she makes in life, it's wrong, it's bad, and it's her own fault. Everything that can happen, no matter what trials and tribulations, no matter what is out of her hands, what's in control, what's not in control, if it's involving a woman and decisions, it's wrong, period. That's all she's saying. You can't have a child because if you have a child, then you can't pay off the debt you accrue. You can't be a submissive woman and have a full-time career, because then the child is being left to be raised at daycare and they're not spending time with the mom or the dad as much. Like, all of this shit, everything is for Pearl is wrong if a woman does it.
How those two things like might be correlated.
Right.
No, because women
And-
aren't having kids anymore.
You just said women have kids so they can't continue to pay off their debt. They after college, they get a job, they might have a career, they get married, and they have a kid, and you said they can't pay off their debt. Now all of a sudden it's not correlated and women aren't having kids. Pearl, what the fuck? If you let her talk enough, she's just gonna contradict herself. Like, Pearl can't string together coherent thoughts at any cost. I would bet on this shit. Like, get Pearl in the room to talk for more than 15 minutes, she's gonna contradict herself at least 3 times. Because oh my God.
That would have
We
been the
are.
case, maybe the case before, but now they're not really.
Now they're not having
We are
kids.
still having children. That's
on
an incorrect
average,
statement.
it's like 1.5 now. So
What is it?
I mean,
What do you mean?
you have one kid, you can put it in daycare, you can still work.
You can put it in daycare.
So,
Sorry, his or her.
look,
Yeah. See, and this is the problem is like when we
and
see
she's spoken down on daycare before. Now she wants them to work and go to daycare.
people as commodities
Mhm.
instead of actual people,
Mhm.
like that's where we run into this thing of like, I don't care how you feel, you make stupid decisions, instead of taking a nuanced perspective and the complexity of the human experience and recognizing that there are so many things that contribute into these cherry pick statistics.
Yes.
Well, you think that the
Thank
world
you.
owes you understanding, and it doesn't.
I think that it does. I think that we owe everybody understanding. I think that in order for me, so you know what? I think that this is something we need to clarify.
Yeah, go ahead.
I partake in these conversations
Mhm.
because I want a better world.
Mhm.
I develop my opinions
Mhm.
based on how I think or based on what I think is
Mhm.
going to improve the human condition and improve people's quality of life. Why do you take part in these conversations?
I like to report on what's going on.
Okay, so you have no desire to improve the world and to be like an advocate for change and progression.
It would be nice, but I don't expect it.
See, and
That's very telling. Like, you don't even have to expect it, but the fact that she's just sitting there saying, I like to report on what's going on. Well, first of all, you report things in a disingenuous way. You cherry pick facts and statistics, and then you interpret them to fit your narrative. You don't use it to assess anything or make any claims or ideas of what's happening and what's truly going on. It's just like, this fits my narrative, so let's go with how I want to present it, not how it can really be going on, which is what she's getting at. Like, I can look at these numbers and assess what may be going on behind the scenes of why these numbers are they are. Pearl's just like, no, it sounds like it can help my narrative, so let me just say it.
And for me, one of my favorite quotes is the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And you can
In
call
my
me a
experience,
dreamer.
they're the ones who do not.
I mean, historically, you're wrong.
I don't think so.
Martin Luther King.
That erase board
But
you
how
she used
many
to
guys
blow me.
tried to be Martin Luther?
What's good, Moosey?
I'm not
Right.
saying I'm not okay, but how many guys tried to be Martin Luther King and failed?
So fucking what? I don't, man, bro. Like, Martin Luther King was here for his time, bro. Like, we don't have to have another one. And if you're not Martin Luther King, it doesn't mean you're not great. What the fuck are you talking about, bro?
I'm not saying there
And
aren't.
What's good,
that's
Josh?
a societal issue because we resist progression, and you're one of the people who is allowing society to resist progression instead of allowing progression to happen.
How am
instead
I
of,
allowing society to? What does that even mean?
yeah, so you
Okay, no, go ahead. Go ahead. It's fine.
yeah, because you say, I see the reality right now and I report on the reality right now. And when I say, yeah, we should recognize what's happening now and improve on it, you say, oh, men are dying in the workplace. And I'm like, okay, let's address that. Let's see why they're doing that. Let's see how
She
we
don't
can
care.
improve on that. And then you're like, yeah, that's not realistic. I live in reality. Where you see how I am advocating for progression. I'm advocating for improvement. Where you're just like, yeah, you know what? That's not the world we live in. And I don't have any idea or any desire to improve on the shitty statistics that I constantly report on.
Yeah, so I think that sounds nice, but again, it doesn't change the reality of the situation. So you saying something on a podcast doesn't change the amount of men that die every year in a crab fishing boat. But what I like to do is be as
Like, bro, who gonna do the job? If somebody got to do the job, right? If we want crabs, somebody has to do it. And I'm not saying men should be dying while doing it. And I think there's something to be said about, for these same people that say women are more empathetic and understanding and all those things and emotional. I would argue that if women were able to be in these workspaces at a point in time, maybe more consideration would have been put into people dying less. Maybe. You never know. Maybe if that happened, if women was involved, they would care more about people not dying and shit like that. That's an argument. I don't know. I'm not strong in it, but I think it can be said. Crab fishing don't have nothing to do with this. It's just got to do with what she's saying, because the girl is just, you talking about this isn't making less men die. Pearl, we either do the jobs where people can die or we don't. You say they run the world, so should just nobody run? Nobody should do jobs that can get people killed? Well, honestly, anybody could die anywhere from anything. So that's not really here nor there. And they pay off well and usually got great benefits. Like, I'm not saying it's okay they should die, but they got to give you something for the fact that the job is risky.
as accurate as I possibly can. And that is why I say that women do not do as useful or as needed jobs in society as men do. If men's jobs disappeared tomorrow, society would crumble. If women's jobs disappeared tomorrow, society would be fine.
Well, really, who's going to raise all
And
the
she
children?
smirks.
Women aren't even raising their own kids, they're in daycare.
Oh, really? Who's going to raise all the children?
Women aren't even raising their own kids, they're in daycare.
That's
And who's running daycares? Who's the people that teach at daycares? Is it men? Are men the ones running daycares? If you want to go with that argument, shithead.
actually
They're in
incorrect.
daycare and public school. It's
And
$1
in
billion
public school, it's mostly women.
industry.
It is $1 billion industry, but
It's $1 billion. What are you saying? Oh, public school's $1 billion industry. So the fuck what? Why are you acting like it's like some type of money grab? Are you kidding me?
statistically, women have the majority of childcare burden, and not
Exactly.
a lot of people can afford daycare.
And like she said, they aren't raising them there in daycare. Okay, so the kids that aren't in daycare, who's more than likely raising these kids? Tell me, Pearl. Stop with this bullshit.
Who is the kid spending the most time with if the mom's at work? Most mothers work nowadays. So the kid is spending more time at school or at daycare.
With a most likely a female teacher.
Yeah,
Because usually
or
school
with
gets out
extended family.
at like 2:30. It's not the norm. People don't really have
What do you
extended
see what I'm saying? First she was like, you could work and put the kid in daycare, and now she's shitting on kids being at daycare or school.
family. School gets out at 2:30 or 3. They go to daycare for 2 or 3 hours.
What about before school? What about before?
Before,
Because
what
a
about
lot of times,
after?
especially
What
in the
about the
first-
weekends? What about the holidays? Like,
No, like the first 2 years of life at least.
Mhm.
A lot of people aren't sending newborns and like
It's not uncommon.
No,
My,
it's
my
not
sister
uncommon, but
works
it's
at
also
my sister works at a daycare. They get newborns like
yeah,
within the first couple
right. But
months all the
we're
time.
talking about like populations, right? We're
Mhm.
talking about like statistics, and the majority of people are
Can
not
I look
sending
up
their
the average age? Do you care if I look? I'm just
Yeah, I don't think most people send newborns to daycare if they're lucky enough to have the ability not to. And then daycare is expensive as fuck, so people try to put that off as much as they can.
Oh, you can
curious.
look it
What
up.
is the average age kids go in daycare?
No, that's
I
not,
actually don't know the answer to that question.
that wouldn't be the
Kids.
question that I would ask, but I'm curious what that answer is.
Okay,
Exactly.
I'm just curious. We recommend kids start daycare as early as 6 weeks old. Doesn't give me an average. Just says kids can start daycare as early as 6 weeks. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, that would because that wouldn't
Yeah,
be the question
yeah,
that I
yeah,
would
no.
Google.
Go ahead.
Like, it would be because, right, we're talking about breastfeeding, we're talking about like bonding,
Mhm.
a lot of these things, like, especially in the first 2 to 6 months of life at least,
Mhm.
like, women bear the majority of that labor.
Sure, but I say so what?
What is
I
these
could say that
what
to
is these
anyone.
cuts?
Men
What are
bear
these
the
cuts?
majority of labor of running society for a lifetime.
And
On average, women have 1 to 2 kids. So okay, you could say
So?
that's 4 years. Men work 50. 50 in a difficult job that gives us the food that we have, the chairs we're sitting on, and the microphone we're talking in.
And who set that system up?
You should say thank you. Men did.
Oh my God! That exchange just pissed me off because why is she acting like women are incapable of doing these things? Just because they're not in these fields in mass, don't mean they're incapable. So if a woman needs to make a microphone or a chair or keep electricity pumping, they can do it. They just don't. For whatever reason, they don't. Second, why did that girl just say, who set this up? That was a bad retort. I get that you want to be a feminist and you're trying to advocate for women as much as possible and get rid of the patriarchy, but that was a bad retort. Third, every man on earth didn't do all these difficult things. Pearl, I bet your boyfriend don't even do one of these difficult jobs, whatever the fuck you talking about. Like, most people aren't doing these super strenuous, laborious, life-threatening jobs every day. Men are sitting at desks too. Men are sitting at home too doing shit. Men do build shit and be outside, but they aren't necessarily doing something so dangerous that they can't do it. They are doing lawn care and shit like that. You know, postal work, delivery work and all that shit. Working in restaurants. Men aren't just overly rushing to these jobs where we might die tomorrow. Like, can you quit the nonsense? And you talking about that you should thank men. You should thank your mama you exist. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, stop. She should just go around thanking men because they built shit that she's using that you using too that men are using. You tell men to thank men. What the fuck are you talking about?
Thank God for them.
No, you seem to have a problem with the amount that men work and the responsibility that men
don't.
take.
And let's not act like women aren't literally integral to upbringing these men that built this shit. Like 9 times out of 10, if they was either born to a 2-parent house or a single, when it was just the mom. Like if it was single, it was more than likely their mom that raised them. So why do you constantly shit on women and they have to raise these men who are who they are? And you shit on them like they just don't matter. You talking about now you talking about jobs. I thought women were supposed to just be submissive and be homemakers. Now they can't have a job at all because it's not important. Come on, bro. If you say shit like that, I dare you to see how well an all-male daycare goes. I don't think that shit would work. I'm not saying it can't. I just don't see it working. Daycare's running with all men. I don't see that working. I don't see that working. I don't think men have the intuition to be able to deal with newborns for 8 to 10 hours a day. I just don't think it's there. Not for a lot of men.
There. And so
I don't have a problem with it. I'm acknowledging what it is. And women should be thankful to men for doing it instead of complaining that they're not doing enough to make women's lives comfortable. We live in one of the most privileged times to be a woman ever. I mean, you have even the fact that you're saying the biggest problem is that they have to raise their kids in the early years. You know how privileged that is?
What?
I mean, you have the option to put them in daycare. You have the option to delay motherhood. They made IVF for us. They gave you birth. Like, we have so many choices now. And we're still going to say they're not doing enough? That's bullshit.
Do you know how much
What is she
work
talking
it takes
about?
to raise children?
I'm one
No,
of
she
10.
doesn't.
Yeah.
No,
so
she
you-
doesn't know.
It takes to raise
She doesn't know.
children.
I'm one of 10.
Yeah. So you
I'm
should.
one-
I'm one of 10. That don't mean it was easy. And look at you. I think you're a piece of shit, so it can't be that easy. You didn't turn out too great, Pearl. Yeah, well, I ain't even gonna say you built this platform because you definitely got handed a good lump sum to start it, but you was dealt a lot of good cards in your life. Being one of 10 don't make raising children. What? Oh my God. I don't even get a high. I get a hemorrhoid. God damn, bro.
So you should be
I'm one
more.
of 10
Okay.
kids.
So here's my next question. Are your parents? still
I'm one
married?
of 10 is crazy because that doesn't mean you know how to raise kids. You were one of the kids being Rose, if that makes sense. And your mom probably went through it. But like I said, you ain't shit. So I don't know how well that is an example because you turned out to be a piece of shit.
And wasn't your mom
Strawberry
like,
seeds killing me.
a feminist on the UN who fought for women's rights at a global level?
Me and my mom don't agree on everything. What's your point?
Yeah, that she had 9 children and she's happily married as a feminist. So it seems like you should be fully aware and
She's
fully
not a feminist. She took me to Sarah Palin rallies when I was a kid.
Okay,
I went to like pro-life rallies when I was 12.
yeah, I mean
This
they're
didn't come out of nowhere.
right, but she also did advocate on a global level for like women's opportunities. So
Yeah,
it
and I
seems
don't,
like
I don't,
you should be
here's
fully.
here's the thing, the internet only has half of that story. And
Usually
I
does.
I can't tell the full one. Just because it's not my place, so I can't really use that as an. I'm telling you, you're wrong though. That's not. If you had the full story, I just can't talk about it here.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, you
That's
say
the-
that a lot when people bring up your family, which is fine.
Ah.
But my main point is that you are not ignorant to these ideas. You are not ignorant to these arguments. Like you, on a global and personal level, like are aware of them.
Mhm.
So to say who cares, like your mom cares. To say who cares, a lot of us care.
Mhm.
And I think that it takes a lot of strength to care. And I think that it actually, to say, oh, I don't care, stop complaining, that's the easy way out. I don't want to take
Yeah.
the easy way out.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that being passionate about empathy is really like the strength. It takes strength to be sensitive. It takes strength to be vulnerable and transparent. I think that it's really easy, and it's the easy way out to just be callous and to say we can't make change and I don't care about your feelings.
Okay, well,
It's true.
again, you can say that, but it doesn't change the reality of the world. And the thing is,
But she's trying to change the reality. Will you stop it? You can say that, but it doesn't change. Obviously, her goal is to make things different. Like, that's obviously what she's trying to do. So to just keep saying it doesn't change is fucking redundant. Her goal is to try to attempt to change with the tools that she has. That's the goal. Like, what the fuck is wrong with this girl?
if you want to be in a man's world, then be in it. And what women try to do is they go into a man's world and tell them how it should be different.
Yeah, because as you've
Even
recognized,
though they've done none of
it
the
seems
work,
like you are
even
you
though they've
interviewing
done the
me, or
work,
are we?
even though
recognize-
they go into a man's world and tell them how it should be different.
Yeah, because as you've
Even though they've
She
done
just
none of
started.
the work,
like you are
even
you
though they've
interviewing
done the
me, or
work,
are we?
even though they've done none of the work of building the society. But go ahead, sorry.
I would argue that our society would be better off if we did have a part in building it. Our society has been stagnated and has been held back because women have been held back. Imagine the prosperity and imagine
Yeah, the picture of the old girl, the riveter. Like, what's her name? What's her name? Rita the riveter. What the fuck? Rosie the riveter. That's like that. Yeah, bro. What you just said. That's literally where this came from. Rosie, where the men got drafted and the women had to do everything the men was doing. It's not impossible. It's just it will be a big shift. Thank you. Yeah, Rosie the riveter. So it's just like, yeah, women can do the shit. They just not doing it. That's all. They're just not. It's not that they enable.
the opportunity that the world would have if women weren't held back and women weren't stagnated. And you continuously complain about these things that men have to endure and then simultaneously call it a men's world that women should be grateful to be a part of, but we should also be sensitive towards the things that they've built that are detrimental to themselves.
Mhm. So, what do you think men did historically? Like, what do you think their jobs were? like 1800s, what were your choices as a man to do as a job? Because you always talk
the
about how women were
relevance?
held back historically. So I'm asking, like, what was life like back
Women
then?
were held back. What is the relevance of this?
Women had
1800.
to stay home, and men had to do all of the jobs
Okay.
because they didn't
All of
allow
them,
women
exactly.
to help them.
What were
Exactly.
their jobs that they did? What were the most common methods of employment back then?
I mean, what do you mean? I mean, it's going to be construction, it's going to be medicine, it's going to be food production, it's going to be factories, it's going like the same thing that runs all of society.
So they had three choices: coal miner, farmer, factory worker.
Shut the fuck. Oh my God. I hate her. Like, oh my God. Is she going to really act like there's just, it was just nothing else for women to do? Like, is this really her argument? Like, women just coal miner, factory worker. What the fuck she say? Or farmer? Like, there was nothing else going on. Who the fuck ran the shoe shops? Who you think took calls at the doctor's office when the doctor, like the receptionist? What the fuck are you talking about? They didn't have doctors back then? They didn't have lawyers? Well, no. Well, no, if you're talking about coal mining, yeah, why did she say 1800? But whatever. She said coal mining. So the people, this was like a regular society. This isn't hunter-gatherer society. So lawyers, fucking all types of like all this shit, teachers, like, what the fuck is she talking about?
else happened in society in the
I'm not saying
1800s.
nothing else. That was the majority of how people were employed.
You just said three.
So
You just acted like there was nothing else. What were their options? They had this, not the same, but they had more options than you just named.
What you guys have this like rewritten history where you guys think that men just had these glamorous, fun jobs.
What is you
But
talking about?
Men did the difficult job. Men know that they didn't enjoy their jobs.
Nobody enjoys their jobs, and if you do, you're lucky as fuck. What are you saying? Nobody then or now is in love with their job, except for a few select people.
Like, do you think any guy is going to a coal mine and saying, "Wow, this is my passion"?
And again, who set that system up?
See, and then she's giving these stupid ass arguments because she's such a feminist. Like, she's leaning way too hard into the feminist shit right now. Who did this? Who set this up? Girl, that's not the point, because women could be doing that shit too and it'll still suck. Don't let her get away with this by saying men set it up, so therefore they gotta suffer. That's such a stupid retort. She needs to tell her it doesn't fucking matter. Like, it don't matter if they had to do it. It had to get done, and they did it for whatever reason. It's not about they set it up, and it's not that women are incapable of doing it. You're letting her basically get away with saying women will never and can never do these jobs. You're letting her have that leeway, and you shouldn't.
It's not about who set it up. It's how would the system run without it. They need coal. At the time, they needed coal. Like the same way now, somebody
Exactly,
has to build
Nicole.
the buildings. Somebody has to get the food. Otherwise, society does not run.
Okay, and women are fully capable of doing it, Pearl. They're not incapable of doing it.
Correct. And we're better off when women participate and when women are able to help men. Like, we talk about all of these like detrimental aspects of these harmful industries, and arguably, if we cared about how people felt, we were compassionate towards their experience, we would put more time and energy to improving these harmful industries.
That's
And
what
if
I
women had
said.
been allowed to enter into these industries earlier, you could argue that they would be safer industries because
Damn, I didn't know she
empathy,
said that. That's legit what I said earlier. I'm like, I think there's an argument to be made for that.
and we want to value progression, and we want to recognize problems and address them. We don't just see a problem and say, hey, that's a problem, and then sit on it. Like, no.
Yeah,
you re-
Wise, it is true, because it's like, yeah, you're a feminist, but you're like, I would never argue the worst version of an argument when you're talking to somebody like Pearl. Like, you're letting her get away with some bullshit.
recognize a problem, you recognize what causes it, and you fix it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I told you about the crab fishing today. What are you gonna do now?
As I said, that's not
Why
my
is
job.
she acting like she has to go out and save all men from jobs that are dangerous? D-Nice, I don't know if I said what's up. But yes, her responsibility isn't to rid all dangerous jobs. Because if that's the case, a lot of shit won't get done, period. Or what she's saying, she is advocating for maybe if women are put into these spaces. Or it don't even have to be about women. We just look at some of these dangerous jobs and maybe see if there's some practical way to make them less dangerous. But I mean, the shit got to get done. They're doing AI and robots now, so hell, maybe we will not have to have linemen up fixing power lines anymore. I doubt it, but you know what I'm saying? Who knows? We don't know.
Job. There are people
Okay,
who
so
are
you're
on.
doing the same
Excuse me,
thing.
if I
Okay,
could
okay,
please speak.
go ahead, go ahead.
As I've said before, there are people on safety committees. There are people on workers' unions. There are people whose jobs are dedicated to worker safety. So if you're very passionate about that, you should probably invite one of them to sit down in the studio.
That's a good
and
argument.
ask them that question.
Okay, so nothing.
Oh my God. Bro, that just shows you that Pearl you cannot talk to somebody like her. Like, no, you can't talk to her. I ain't gonna make it about other people. She doesn't care about this conversation. She doesn't want to fix anything. She don't care about other perspectives. She is shunned off from any other perspective, no matter how reasonable it is. The girl said, she said, maybe you could talk to somebody on a safety committee that actually has a job to figure out ways to make jobs more safe. People that work with unions. And she just, nothing. Bitch, you didn't hear anything she just said. She's literally telling you these are ways we can probably save people's lives and make jobs less dangerous. And Pearl disregard every bit of it. And you look like a fucking idiot. I'm gonna read the comments after this.
Because that's in the studio and ask them that question.
Right.
Okay, so nothing. You're not going to do
Because that's
anything
not
about
my
it? Okay.
job.
I'm just clarifying you're doing the same thing.
No, because I'm more than happy to recognize that it's a problem that should be addressed by somebody whose specialty it is to address that problem.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. This
These
was fun.
cuts, okay, I get it.
Do you want to tell them your socials? And they
Let's
can-
watch
your
these
social media,
cuts.
where they can find
I
you?
mean,
Go ahead.
these
Yeah,
comments.
so you can.
Let's look at these comments. You are a gem, rare and unique. Oh, God. Please ask this doctor why there are absolutely no more. Is she a doctor? Oh, yeah, she did say she went to med school. Mandatory paternity test. Oh, my God. Y'all care about the wrong shit. Great interview. I like how Pearl calmly dismantles the arguments from the feminists. This woman is so disrespectful to men. See, this left room for somebody to say some shit like this. This leaves room for people to say some shit like this. I don't like the fact that she left room for this woman's disrespectful to men because she didn't seem to care about men because she wants to be such a strong feminist.